Okay. Oistes. So the Rebbe continues now to explain from the Maimer the idea of Tfilas Oshir of Moshe Rabbeinu, exactly what the level of Tfilas Moshe, that comes from the level of Atik, Pnimius HaKeser, and the Rebbe will explain what the Tfilah of Moshe for the Yidden is in a way that while Moshe Rabbeinu stays on the level of Oshir, yet he's davening for the Yidden which are lacking. How do we reconcile these two in Yonim, as the Rebbe will explain now? So he explains in the Maimer, this that Moshe is called, well, a wealthy, a rich. Okinal Siv Gimel, and as we said earlier in Siv Gimel, Shetfila LeMoshe Hitfilas Oshir, that the davening of Moshe is a davening of an Oshir. Give me a second, also the air conditioner's making noise. Is a Tfilas Oshir, who lefisha Moshe, who bechinas das Elyon. Because Moshe, the Maimer says Moshe Rabbeinu is the level of das Elyon. Generally, we know there's two levels of das. There is das, which is called the das tachton, and then there is called the level which is called das elyon, the supreme, the level of bittul b'metzias, the keldeas havaya, the level of das elyon, the higher level, the level of bittul b'metzias. So the Rebbe explains now. So what does it mean that Moshe is das elyon? Who the idea is the das tachten mekabel mechitzonius hakeser. The lower level of das receives from the external part of keser. Keser has two levels: the pnimius, that's atik, and the chitzonius, that's arich. Arich is considered the top, the shirish of creations. Atik is the lower level of the Maitzil, of Hashem. So the Das Tachten, the lower level of Das, that is Mekabel Mechitzonius HaKeser. That receives from the externality of Keser, which is level of Arich. The Das Elyon, and the higher level of Das, that is Mekabel Mipnimius HaKeser Atik. That gets from the inner level of Keser, which is the level of Atik. So Moshe Rabbeinu, who is in the level of Das Elyon, he connects with Atik. And as we will see, that Atik is connected with Atzmus, with the Meitzel. V'hachiluk bein Arich la'atiku. What's the difference between Arich and Atik? Pnimius and Chitzonius HaKeser. She'arich hu sheirish u'moker hanetzolim. Arich is the root and the source of those who are netzal. So bechinas soivev. Taka in a level of soivev, but it's a root and a source in a way of soivev. Ukanal Siv Daled, as we said earlier in Siv Daled, Shesoivev hu k'moi moker lo'ilom. Even though that the world comes from Imale Kol Almim that fills the world, but the Soivev is the Chaye HaChayim. That's the source for the world, because the Mimale actually comes from the Oir HaSoivev, as we explained before. So that's the level of Arich, Chitzonius HaKeser. But the Atik, who bechina tachtoina shebemeitzel. Atik is the lower level of the meitzel. So that's Atzmus Oirin Sof Shelamayla Megeder Oilumis. That's the level of the essence of the Oirin Sof, which is beyond defined by the world, which means it's not shaykhs to the world. The level of arich is the makir of the netzolim, but the level of atik, that's the chitachtoin of the maitzil, and this is totally beyond the gather of the world. So, memela, the kibon shegilui haseviv. We're talking about when the level of seviv becomes revealed, which is the level of arich, hu bechlal milui hachisorim. That is part of filling something that is lacking, meaning it's not ashirus, it's not wealth, it's included in the level that filling the needs. Now, we had two levels in filling the needs. We had Deimach Soidoi, and then we had Avsher Sarloi, which is Mamali and Soivim. But still, the level of Arich, which is the level of Soiviv, is Bechlal Milui Hachisorin. That is part of filling what's lacking. And the inyan ha'ashirus hu davke be'atzmus eirin sof shalamayla mesoivev atik. And the idea of wealth is davke in the es of the eirin sof, which is higher than atik. Lachain, and therefore, gam bedas, when we're talking about the level of das, inyan ha'ashirus hu davke bedas elyon. When we talk about that, das is the level that the person connects to and has a shaykhis, that level of Moshe Rabbeinu is dafkir in das elyon, shemekabel mipnimius hakeser, which receives from the inner level of keser, because that's ashirus, because even Sefer Kol Almim is included in Asher Yechsaloi. It's lacking. So when we talk about Ashirus, it has to be Das Elyon, which is the level of Atik, which is higher. That's the level of Moshe Rabbeinu, the Das Elyon level of Ashirus. Ba'alpi HaMevur Li'il Siv Daled, and based on what we explained earlier in Siv Daled, the shlilas ha'aniyas, that the negating of the level of aniyas when you're lacking, missing this, the chisorin, he davke alidei ha'shirus shalamaylo mimilui hachisorin. He said before, even if you have everything, but if you're not an oshir be'etzem, just the fact that you have it doesn't mean that you're not lacking it. You can have everything and still be lacking. Why? You're not an usher because it's not yours. It's not be'etzem. You're still lacking. So what negates, what takes away chisorin, not just to give you things, but to take it from a level of ashirus which is higher than just filling your needs. As opposed to if the flow that you get is only sufficient what you're lacking, and even the greater level, not only lacking for everybody, but even you, the horse to ride on and the slave to run, which is a higher level than just lacking. You need more than other person. And even filling those matters does not take away being poor. If you don't have ashirus be'etzem, just getting the flow doesn't take away, doesn't negate aniyus. Nisher b'pnimius chisorin gam b'negei l'shefa mitzumtzum. So in an inner way, it remains a lacking also with regards to the shefa, this restricted level. So even what you got, it's still considered chesron. Tzorich leimar. So according to this, that the gam kisha hi mitzad hadas. When a person's service is mitzad, which means it's not just you understand, it's not chokma ubina, but it's das, it's recognition. Is even when the avodah is mitzad hadas, which is hakora v'hargosha, recognition and feeling, avol rak das tachten, but you're only getting das tachten. And we just said that the das tachten is like the level of arich, it's the level of seviv kulamim. It's not ashirus. Shemikabel ma'arich, that's only your hardgosha, your das, is only the das tachten that you get from the level of arich. Then then the service, the das that you're working at in avodas Hashem, it's like an additive. Just like when the person gets what he is lacking, we don't call that ashirus because he is not be'etzem ashir. He only has it in chitzonis, but b'pnimis is still an ani. So here, when you get by the das tachten, you're only, while you get it, you're still considered lacking in the pnimis. Va'odom atzmai b'pnimiyusay, the person himself in an inner chosar ha'avodah is still lacking this service. It doesn't really fully encompass him. He still remains an ani. He's not really an usher. Hainu. What does it mean that it's lacking? Shenika nishar mokim beha'odom sheshom ein meir gilui elikus. There is a place, there remains space by the person in which godliness doesn't light. That's when the avodah is with das tachten. And it doesn't matter that he's feeling it, that he's sensing it, but still, since you are a Metzias, you're still feeling something new. That's not your essence. That's when it comes from das tachten. So the Odom Atzma b'pnimiyus chosar avodah hainu shenishar mokim be'odom sheshom eina meir gilui elikus. There's a space in the person in which godliness does not reveal. The hagam she'inyan ha'kora v'hargosha gam the das tachten. Even though that generally when we talk about recognition and feeling, it's something which becomes internalized, your essence. It's not separate with the koiches, with the chokhmah bina, but it's hadas, hargosha that you feel in your inside. So the idea is shava odom atzmoi margish makiru margish kinal siv gimel. Like we said earlier, siv gimel, that the person himself is feeling it. But mikol mokoim, even though that you feel it, it's more than the chokhmah bina, it's hargosha. Mikol mokoim kivon shenyone shala odom hu metzias. Because what is a person? A person is an entity. Is an entity by themselves, is not godliness. A person is not feeling godliness. This is something that you bring down. The das that you're getting, you're bringing down a feeling which is not what you are in essence. It remains an additive. It means an addition. So the person's recognition and feeling in godliness, that is like a matter which was added to him. So if you want, in order for the das, the level, to absolutely become one, we become your Metzias, you need das Elyon, das tachten, because you are, a person is a Metzias, you can add to his Metzias Hakora and Hargosha and Elikus, but that cannot become his own Metzias, which is what Ashirus is. As we said before, Ashirus means that becomes you. It's not just that you're given that which you are lacking. That doesn't make you an Ashir. What makes you an Ashir means that you yourself have it in your pneumius. For that, das Tachten isn't sufficient. For that, you need Moshe Rabbeinu, you need das Elyon. You need a higher level of Hargosha. And the Rebbe adds now, so basically what the Rebbe explains, you can either understand and feel godliness, that it's an additive, there is you, and you understand, you feel godliness, it's still an addition, that's not called Ashirus. Or you can feel that becomes your whole Metzias. Your whole Metzias is the Das Elyon, is Hargoshus Elikus. There is no separate entity. But the Rebbe is going to explain now there's a different point here also, that even it's not only because it's an addition to you, but you actually don't fully, it doesn't fully feel it's not just because it's an addition, it's not you yourself, but there's also not that much, it's not the full level of recognition. And more deeper we can say, why is it when the avodah is with das tachten, you're still lacking? It's not really considered an oshir. It's not just like we explained, because the person and his recognition and godliness are two separate things, and that's why he is lacking. He's lacking because it's not become him, it's not himself. But also the level of recognition, the level of a hakora that comes from das tachten is still lacking, just in the hakora itself. Not just because it's not you, not because there's a mokum, there's a space which is not you, but also the recognition itself is not full. Hakora de das tachten, that recognition that comes from das tachten is not complete. Yesh nisinas mokim lemetzias shemachutz leelukus. That allows for a space outside of godliness. The level of das tachten will still allow for a space which is not godliness. It's not fully. You haven't fully. Why? The hakora itself, not just because it's an additive, but it's not a full hakora. The kivon shedas tachten mekabel the chitzonius hakeser, since das tachten gets from the chitzonius hakeser, from the level of arich, the bechlolus ubchinat seivev. Generally, that's the level of seivev shu kemoi mokar loylemis, the level of seivev which is sort of a source for the world, as we've spoken earlier, that the mamalik comes from the Seviv, and the Seviv is a mokar lo'elamos lochein, gam mitzad hadas atzmai yesh nisinas mokim l'mitzias. Also, the das itself, notwithstanding that he has the hakora and argosha belakus, it still allows for space for an entity. V'zeh gufa hu hasiba, and that is actually the reason. L'zeh shal yidei hagilu the darga zuba odom nishar hu b'mitziusay. Why when this level of Arich, the level of Sovev Kulam, the Das Tachten, becomes revealed by the person, he still remains a Metzias, which is Metzias Shechutz Lelikus, an entity which is outside of godliness. You're not godliness, is an entity still outside of godliness. Because Das Sovev Kulam and Das Tachten allows for a Metzias, is the mocker for the world. That's why it's not Shirley. In order for the lacking to be completely filled. So there should be no space for something else. There should be no space in which doesn't shine godliness. That is through the avodah of das elyon, the upper level of das, that gets from pnimis hakeser, from level of atik. The bechlolus atzmus ein sof. Generally speaking, that's the level of atzmus ein sof, the level of atik, pnimis hakeser. The legabe atzmus ein sof. Ain't shum metzias shechutz mimenu. Over there's nothing an existent which is outside of the atzmos. But adrab, on the contrary, not only is there no existence, amitis imotzi yizborich, he amitis ametzias shekolim soyim. Hashem's true being, his metzias, is the true metzias of everything. So there is nothing. From the perspective of Atzmos, the perspective of Atik, over there is only Atzmos, there is nothing else. From the perspective of Sovev Kulam, from Arich, there's an Esinas Moker. So when you have Das Tachten, you can have also be a Metzias. But when you tap in to the level of Atzmos, level of Atik, Das Elyon, where there is no Metzias, he's the Metzias of everything. V'lochein al yidei hagilu de Das Elyon, through the revelation of the supreme level of Das, Hakoras ha'odom belakusi b'oifen, is in a way she's a Hakoras elakusi kol Metzius. Then he recognizes that this is all Metzias. The true level of Ashirus is when that becomes your whole Metzias, that godliness becomes your whole Metzias. And the Rebbe gave now two explanations. One explanation is that Das Tachten, even though you have a Hargosh Elokus, but it's an addition. The second explanation that he explains now deeper is that even the Hakora is not a complete Hakora because there is space for a world. But when it comes from Das Elyon, from the level of Atik, over there is no Metzias, there's only the Metzias of the Eibishter. When you reveal the level in Das Elyon, then that becomes your whole Metzias, then there's only godliness. So now we're going back, this is why it's a Tfilas Osher. We said Moshe didn't daven for himself. Moshe davened for Knesset Yisrael to be misakin them. He was an Oshir. So, why is the davening of Moshe to fill the chesaron of Knesset Yisrael called b'shem Tfilas Oshir and Oshir? Now, af shachesaron the Knesset Yisrael hoyo bevadai. So that what the Bnei Yisrael were lacking was something that touched him a lot. So the Rebbe asked before, early in the Maimer, if Moshe Rabbeinu was davening for the Yidden, he's an Oshir. He doesn't daven for himself. He davens for Knesset Yisrael. But if Knesset Yisrael touches him, which means it's important to him, so then he's davening really for himself. So how could we say he's an Oshir? He's lacking because the people that he's davening for touch him. It's something which is very negative. So now we understand. Ki Moshe b'chinas das elyon kanal. Because Moshe is the level of das elyon, as we said before. Umitzad das elyon inyan ha'ashirus. And from the perspective of the das elyon, Moshe Rabbeinu's level, inyan ha'ashirus, ein shaykh inyan ha'chsoren. There is no such a thing as lacking. What does it mean? It doesn't mean only that Moshe is not lacking anything, but because of the level of Moshe, there is nobody's lacking anything. Ein shaykh inyan ha'chsoren hainu the neisef lozeh shebemoshe atzmei ein shaykh shum chsoren chas v'sholem. In addition to the fact that by Moshe himself doesn't apply, there's nothing missing by Moshe. But we're saying there's no chisoron elo shelagabi Moshe, gam hachisoron de Knesset Yisrael sheyispalel lehem eino chisoron. Relative to Moshe, that which the Knesset Yisrael are missing, he's davening for them, and when davening means that they're missing something. So even what they're missing relative to Moshe, they're not missing anything. Why? Kidas Elyon Mekabel Ma'atik. Because Moshe Rabbeinu, who is the Das Elyon, he gets from the level of Atik, the Pnimis HaKesed. Velochein Nirgash Boy, so by Moshe is felt, Sha'amitis Himotze Yizborech Hu Amitis HaMetzias, that Hashem's true existence is the true existence. Shall Kol Hanimtzoi Beinim Chaserim Uma. They don't lack anything. He sees everybody has everything because the Eibishter's, he sees the Eibishter in everything. That's really what everything is. The Eibishter. He doesn't see any lacking. So it seems a paradox. If they're not lacking anything, Moshe Rabbeinu to Moshe Rabbeinu, the world is a perfect world because everything is Atzmus. There's nothing else. So why is he davening for them? Vagam Moshe Yispal Aleim, even though Moshe daven, you're saying from Moshe Rabbeinu's perspective, it wasn't a chisoron because he realized everything is atzmus. So then why did he daven for them? Zagam Moshe Yispal Aleim, the inyan hatfila ulemalu is chisoron. The idea of davening is to feel something is lacking. Yes, loimat. So the Rebbe says the way we can explain this is he was davening that the Yidden should feel this. Yes, Moshe Rabbeinu from his level felt it. He was davening for the Yidden that don't feel the level of Das Elyon, and they feel that they're lacking. He was davening for them that they should also feel the way he feels it. Yes, that this idea that the truth is that they're not really lacking anything. That should be felt also by them. He was davening for them to feel that way. But by Moshe, he felt that they're not lacking anything openly. Moshe felt that openly, that they're not the gam kshehoyu b'matzav shehu tzarich lispalel aleim. Even they were in a condition that needs to daven for them. But he felt that they don't really mean anything. V'lochein, hatfila shaloi tfila soshir. That's the way it's the tfila of Oshir. Because by Moshe Rabbeinu, he realized that he felt that nobody was lacking anything. By him, it was all godliness. But Moshe Rabbeinu realized that the Yidden don't feel that. So he was davening for them that they should feel that as well. So that's one thing. So one thing, why is it Tfilas Oshir? Because he even though he's davening for the Yidden, but he sees that the Yidden are not really lacking anything. So it's still a tefillas oshir. And the reason he's davening because he wants the Yidden to feel the same way as well, just like he's feeling. But there is another point over here that because Moshe is the level of Das Elyon, that's why he can mamshich to them that they should feel that way too. Why is it called the Tfilas Oshir? It's not just because even then when he was davening, he was still an Oshir, like we said in Moshe Rabbeinu's level didn't affect El Yiseidim Mizeh. It's more than this. That he davened because he was Oshir. In other words, he had something to give them. Why did Moshe, it was Tfilah LaMoshe, Tfilas Oshir, he was an Oshir at the time, but because he was an Oshir, that's why he davened for them. Kitfilas Moshe she'yismale achisorim the Knesset Yisrael. That Moshe Rabbeinu's davening so that the lacking of Knesset Yisrael, and all levels, the Rebbe goes through, the Knesset Yisrael Kipshutei, the general Knesset Yisrael literally, by Deza achisorim the Malchus, and also what Malchus is lacking, with the Ha'olam, and then the Ha'olam. This is all came one from the other, and the Rebbe said earlier in the Maimer, Hu she'yismale achisorim legamri, that it should totally be filled. There should be no place that there should not feel elokus. That's a chisorn. If there's a space that there's no elokus, it's a chisorn. He prayed to fill that space. In order to it completely be filled, that is only through the revelation of the Das Elyon, like we said before. So Moshe Rabbeinu is an Oshir, even though he's davening for the Yidden that are lacking. But that doesn't touch Moshe because Moshe Rabbeinu sees that they're not really lacking. Moshe Rabbeinu is playing for davening for them because the Poel Mamish, they don't feel that. They think that they're lacking. He's praying for them and he's filling it for them. They shouldn't be lacking. And that's why it's a tefillah, but he's still an Oshir. But the Rebbe explains further that he has to be an Oshir because he has to have the Das Elyon that he can be mamshich to them so that they can take away any space that to realize that it's only Atzma, only Hashem himself, and therefore there is no space where Hashem is not. Yud. Yeshleima, we can say that David Kosav Ham Bizmer, Tfilah LaMoshe B'Sefer Tehillim, Shenemar Al Yedei Kol Yisrael. Through the fact David wrote this Mizmor of Tfilah LaMoshe. So he wrote it into the Tehillim. Every Yid says Tehillim, says Tfilah LaMoshe. Gam Al Yedei Anoshim Pshutim, even simple people. So Nitan HaKoyach L'Kol Echad V'Echad B'Yisrael, the power was given to each and every one of the Yidden. Legales Bechinas Ha'ashirus Shaboy, to reveal his level of wealth. Mitzad Bechinas Moshe Shebekol Echad B'Yisrael. Every Yid has a part of Moshe, and to reveal within yourself, even the simple person, the Moshe within him. Ba'al Yidei Zeh L'Malis HaChisorin the Malchus the Ha'olam. And through revealing in yourself your Moshe, your Ashirus, to fill that lacking of the Malchus and the world, Milu HaChisorim Legamri, totally filling the world. Shelo Yehei Mokem Ba'olam Shein Meir Ba'Gila Elokus. There should be no space in the world where there is not Gilu Elokus. Every Yid can do that because every Yid can megal the Moshe. Yes, l'kasher zeh Maimer HaMedrash bepirush ish ha'elikim. The Medrash explained the saying of the Medrash to tie it that Moshe is called Ish, a man, Ha'elikim, a godly man. So what is he? Is he Ish or is he Elikim? A man of godliness. Ish Elikim. So what does the Medrash explain? The Medrash says like this: B'shor she'ola l'rekia Ish. When he goes up to the sky, he's a man. When he come down from the sky, when he came down, he became Elikim. He's a man. When you go up, you have to be a man. And when you come down, you're Elikim. He explains in the Sikha that he brought down, the Rebbe brought down in the beginning of the Maimer. The Odom Moichin Hulamailo Meish Midas. Over here it says he was an Ish, not an Odom. The level of Odom represents intellect. That is higher than the level of Ish, which is level of Midas. So why are we saying when he went up he was an Ish? We don't say he was an Odom. Mashe Kosu b'Medrash explained that Bishosh Olo l'Rekia Ish, that when he went up to the Rekia is an Ish. Ula Hoiris is to show, to point Shegam be'eis ha-tefila, even during the davening. That means you're going up. You're going Olo l'Rekia. You're going to the sky. You're davening. You're elevating the gate in Himmel. So even when you are mizboinim b'darkes achi nailas, and you understand them well, you're an Odom, which is you're going up to the sky. You have to remember that you're a man, an Ish. That you have those character traits that you need to sort them out and you need to refine them. If when you go up, when you're mizboinen and davening, you remember that you're still an Ish, even though you are reaching high levels intellectual, but you still remember that you're an Ish. Through that, then when you descend from the sky after the davening, who Elikim? Then what is Elikim? Meloshin Din. It's from the language of judge, a judgment. Elikim, Meloshin Koyach Gevura, and Elikim from the language of power and strength, which means Shehu Bal Koyach Gevura. You become an Elikim. You have the strength to carry through with that which you experienced during the davening when you was given in Himmel. You have the ability to bring it down. You can make judgments by yourself. That your conduct in actuality should be as need to be. That's the meaning of Ishalikim, as the Rebbe explains in the Sikha, the Friedrich Rebbe, that you have to remember, even when you have great haskalas and you're going up in his burniness, that you're still a man, that you have midos that you need to sort out. So then when you come down and you are able to apply that koyach so that everything goes right. So based on that, we explained what is Moshe, which is emphasizing Tefillah Moshe that Moshe was a wealthy person. So I have to say, that this avodah of Ish Halikim, to go up, think it has a connection to the Ashiras. That's Moshe Rabbeinu. The Rebbe explains it. The Gimel Hoinyonim Shalamayla. These three matters of above, Memale Soviv, V'Oirin Sof Shalamayla Mesoviv. These three madregas that we were discussing. The two levels in Chisorin, in what is lacking, and Ashirus, Malusever, and Sof Shalamayla Mesever, Yesh Dugmosav Ba'odam. There's similar to the by the person. Shagiluyim Daneshama, those revelations of the soul, what comes out of the soul in a revealed way is similar to the revelation of Mamal and Sev. The Etzem HaNeshama, the Etzem Neshama, he dugmas atzmus enesav. That's similar to the Etzem enesav. The Malay v'Soivev yesh nisinas mokem l'metzias shemachutz l'lakus. Just like we explained that by above, that the revelation of Malav V'Soivev, if that is revealed, there's still space for a Metzias which is outside of godliness. And the fact that the true existence of all things is godliness, that is specifically mitzad atzmus, not mitzad gilui mitzad atzmus, kinal sivtes, al derech zeh hu ba'avodas ha'odom. Similarly is in the service of man. Shebichdei shehahizboinenus shebetefila tiya be'oifen shetifel al hanagosei b'meshech kol hayom. In order for the person's reflection when he davens should be in a way that it should impact all day, Elekim, it should be controlling himself through the day, Ish ha'Elekim, wa'yidei shetfila shaloi kishura im etzem haneshama. That's through the tefillah being tied with the essence of the soul, which Moshe, which is Ashiras. That is the tefillah le Moshe, and then you have the Ish ha'Elekim. Yudalef. Ulahaisiv. Let's finish up over here. The Mevuar beHaMaimer, Maimer explains Shebitfilas Moshe al Knesset Yisrael. So what Rebbe just explained over here is he wanted the Ish ha'Elekim, which basically say that when could your davening have an effect if you remember that you're in an Ish, and the Rebbe says it's more than that, as he explained, that you have to remember and you have to tap in to daven with your Moshe Rabbeinu, with your Atzmus, because that's the only way that is going to have a lasting effect that is connected to Moshe Ashir. So the Hoisif, the Mevuar b'Hamaimer shebetfilas Moshe al Knesset Yisrael Yisfiras Hamalchus Shnei Inyonim. The Maimer says that Moshe Rabbeinu davened for Knesset Yisrael, which is Sfiras Hamalchus. He was the Oshir Moshe, but he was davening for Knesset Yisrael, which is Sfiras HaMalchus. He says there's two aspects there. Hamshachas ha'ore ma'atzmus oire sof. One is to bring down a ha'ore from atzmus, the level of Moshe. Sha'ideze efshe aliyas ha'malchus. You bring it down. That allows for Malchus to go up mil Mato lemailo ba'atzmus eirisov, so we can go up to atzmus, and then va'idei nas acher kach ha'amshochas atzmus b'malchus. So first it comes from atzmus to malchus to help it elevate to atzmus, and then becomes amshochas atzmus b'malchus milmailo lemato, from above to below. Yesh loymar the shnei inyonim elu b'malchus. These two ideas of Malchus, those two aspects in Ish ha'Elekim. We have Bishosh Ola l'Rekia Ish. When he goes up to the Rekia, he's a man. Ubishosh Yored min Rekia Elekim. Then he goes down, it's Elekim. So what is it? These are two in a level of Ish and level of Elekim. Shabbat Adam in the service of man. Explains. The Al Yidei is explaining this idea in Avodas Hashem. The Al Yidei ha'avodah, the Bishosh Sha'olo l'Rekia Ish. When you start off in your avodah, that you're a mensch, you're an ish when you go up, which means Shagam is bonus the tefillah, even when he's reflecting a davening, who's zeicher sheyesh le'midas shetzorich levaron u'lezachem, he remembers that he has character traits that he needs to sort out and refine them. How is he davening in such a way that he remembers that he has to refine himself? That's the way that the tefillah is connected to the essence of the soul, that it's the koiches, the atzmis of the neshama. So through that, then there is the return that it comes down from the Etzem HaNeshama Milmai Lamata. Sha'al Yidei Zeh Mis'aleli Yonim HaTachtonim. That the lower matters are elevated to the davening. נמשך האור מעצמוס אינסוף לרומם ולהלס es hamalchus l'shorsho ba'atzmos. So that's the first level. When you're davening in a way that it's kosher b'neshama, you bring Alor Ves Neshama, which allows you to raise up and to bring up all the inyanim milmato l'shorsho ba'atzmos. The second step, the second avodah is when you come down, you still remain Elikim. That because the davening is tied to the essence of the soul, that impacts the conduct all day. That's bringing down the essence on neshama, the essence of his soul in his lower levels. That's the way you bring down the level of atzmus and malchus. Like it says in the Medrash, you decree that it should be a building forever. So basically, there's two levels that the Rebbe brings down, that there is the level of going up and the level of going down, the Ish and the Likim. The same thing is in the davening. And the two Hamshochas that is spoke over there in the Maimer, that the first Hamshocha from Atzmus is to give the Koyach to Malchus to be elevated. The second Hamshocha is that it comes down from Atzmus to Malchus so that it's built eternally. The same Avodah Hashem, through the person's Gilui of the Etzem HaNeshama, that's the way he can elevate all of the Inyonim HaTachtonim by having the Atzmus of the Neshama raise them up. That's like Malchus going up to Atzmus. And then you become the Alikim, that you bring it down from the level of the essence of Neshama, that it comes down into the lowest of levels, and it stays there forever. V'yesh loymar, Zeu shas cholas hamizmer. This is the beginning of the Mizmer Hu Hashem Mo'oin Ato. So we said about before, Mo'oin, V'sim HaMizmer Hu V'yinoyem Ad Hashem. They're the same letters. The B'tchilas, also the beginning and the two levels that we're talking about over here. Elevating Malchus by coming down and bringing down to Malchus. The B'tchilas HaMizmer Medaber Binyan HaMalchus K'moshe Oile B'shor Shabbatik. Beginning of the Mizmer, the Tilmi talks about the way it goes up to Atik. That's why it says Moin Shekoyal Malchus. Kinal Siv based, as I said earlier, Siv based is based to Malchus. Elo Shemoin Hu Oisios Noyam Shemoire Alaliyas Malchus Ba'atik. So we're talking about Malchus, the Moin. But it has the same letters as Noyam because we're talking as Malchus goes up to Noyam, goes up to Atik. Noyam is Atik and Moin is Malchus. So over there we're talking about Moin because we're talking about Moin going up to the level of Atik, to the Noy, to the Noy. Sima Mizra Medaber Binyan Atik. Over there he talks from Atik, which is the Noyam, Shenim Shal B'Malchus. That goes down to Malchus. By day HaMalchus B'Malchus Be'el Mizbiyah. In the words of Yah, Ad Be'el Mazar Gashmi, until the physical world. V'nemar V'hi V'noyam Hashem Elokeinu Aleinu. That should be on us. What means this world? Ki Iker Agilu Yisrael, because the main Gilu is for a Yid. And when it comes to Yid, Yushach main Gilu Zeh, Mechol Oilam. This will similarly also come down in all the world. Be'Geula Ha'amitis V'Hashlema Ad Mashiach Tzidkenu B'Korev Mamash. This was a very powerful and very detailed, a very haskaladik minor. Of course, it's just a first run. I have to learn it again and again and again. And actually, there's several Maimorim of the Rebbe. The Rebbe speaks about the same general issue, but it's a lot. There's a lot to digest over here. Okay, so we'll leave it over here.
Hey, thank you very much. Have a good day.
Baruch Hashem.